Hey everybody, it's David with Hungry for a Day, and I have a special guest with me today, Christina Martinez, and she's going to talk to us about our new summer project. So welcome, Christina.
Thanks for having me, David.
What I want to do is I want you to be able to share the story of Akena House, how you're helping so many children in Uganda, ways that people can help out. So let's just jump right in. Tell me a little bit about Akena House.
Yeah, so I met this lovely girl named Lydia in Uganda probably about 7 or 8 years ago while I was on one of my trips to Uganda. And she showed me a piece of land that she bought in her dream to help kids who were living on the streets, particularly kids from the region that she's from called Karamoja.
Okay.
And that was her story. She ended up on the streets when she was little, and she has this huge heart to help kids who also are going through that same life circumstance. And so we just naturally started building on the land and one by one started rescuing kids who were living on the streets in Kampala.
And right now, if I have my math correct, you guys have about 20 children that you're helping out?
Yes, 20 kids.
And the ages, tell me about the ages.
Yeah, we had some younger ones, but so we call a Kenna home a transitional home. So
Okay.
sometimes like parents can't take care of their children, and so they end up on the streets, like begging for food, that sort of thing. So some of our kids actually don't continue to stay in our home, but they're there for a season.
Yeah.
And so currently we have kids between the ages of 5 and 18. So it's a big range, girls and
Yeah.
boys. And so, yeah, it's a lovely house of lots of personalities and energy, but yeah, it's home.
So tell me how Corona is impacting Uganda all the way across the world, right? I think a lot of us are sheltered we think about our town and our country, but tell us about Uganda.
Yeah, so just like here, COVID has really affected the country of Uganda. Schools have been shut down since beginning of April and really indefinitely. They just experienced the first deaths from coronavirus. And so it's tightening up more. So they have curfews in place, a lot of just guidelines in public transport. But if you think about it here, when we started going into our like self-quarantining, we were able to go out to the grocery store, grab lots of food, pack in our freezers, pack in our refrigerators, pack our pantries. But there, they were shutting down the marketplaces, and that's the only place where people can buy food. And so people are going starving because they can't even have access to food. And you can't really store a lot of food at one time because it will go bad. I mean, insects will eat it. You don't have refrigerators. And so if you think about like quarantining in a developing world, you don't have public transport. So you're going to have to walk to the nearest hospital if you can't ride a boda, which is like a motorcycle taxi, because you're actually touching another human. You can't exercise, distancing in that sense. And so it changes everything. And also what we've seen is that food prices are skyrocketing, more than double of what we were originally paying when we were purchasing food for our home.
This month, we're giving people several different ways to help out, right? And it's, Hungry for a Day is really the idea that if you can't afford to give, and we know people are struggling here, right? If you can't afford to give, go hungry for a day. Give what you would have spent on food. We have a lot of people that say, hey, I'm in a good place, and I'm going to give what I would normally spend or what my family would spend on food in a day. Or, some people do it for a week, or some people say, hey, I have a little extra money, I just want to help out. So we're going to put the link below the video so people can, you can read more about the story. You can see a way to give, but I'm going to give just an overview here. And if you want to add anything, feel free to. $35 will feed all 20 children and the 2 caregivers that help at Akena House for a day, $35, which is pretty amazing. I know I can't feed 22 people for $35. I was just telling you that I'm having some friends come over. We're grilling hot dogs in my backyard tonight, right? And I know I couldn't have 22 people over, even if I was feeding them hot dogs for $35.
Yeah.
So this is an amazing way to help out. $105 will cover 3 days. $245 covers an entire week of food for these people. You mentioned school. So you guys are also helping with school. Can you give me like 30 seconds on schooling and how you're also helping with that?
Yeah, so because schools have been shut down indefinitely, our kids have just been at home. And if you think about it, no electricity, there's no internet, there's no TV. They're stuck in a small half-acre, piece of land, have nothing to do. And so we just felt like they were in limbo. And so because we can't send them to school, we thought, why can't we bring school to our home? And so a lot of teachers are out of jobs currently because schools have been shut down. And so we've partnered with 2 local teachers to come to our home and to essentially start a homeschooling program with our kids. So one will be teaching our primary kids, one will be teaching our secondary kids. And so we're bringing school to the kid at home.
I love it. So you just told me a minute ago that you've already raised all the funds to cover the cost of the teachers through the end of
Yes.
the year. Amazing.
Yep.
But there's still a need. The need is you still need desks for the kids because they can't just sit on the ground, right? So $50 will provide two things. You can either buy a desk for a child, or you can spend $50 and that provides the school supplies. What are they getting with school supplies? Is that like the pencils and paper or?
Yeah, so it'll be the school books,
Okay.
notebooks, pencils,
Yeah. So $50.
rulers, chalk. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then also like government tests that they'll have to take
Yeah.
throughout.
Okay.
So it covers like all those fees and stuff.
I love that. So if you're saying, hey, I want to help out kids that are struggling through school, right? That's a great way. We're also going to put a dream big goal on here. Tell me about the idea of a classroom.
Yeah. So currently we have 3 bedrooms, one for our caregivers, and then one for the girls, one for the boys.
Mhm.
And then we have a kind of common area that we use for church on Sundays. And so that will work for our secondary students, but we don't really have a place for our primary kids. And so
Okay.
our big dream is to build off another room in our house to designate for our primary kids to have a classroom essentially on the grounds.
And so for $2,000 is what it's going to cost.
Mhm.
Um, we can build an entire addition onto the building, and this will be a primary classroom for the kids.
Mhm.
I love this. So if anybody's feeling generous, like, hey, you're looking for a way to bless somebody, the Kenna House has a need for $2,000 for a schoolroom. We would love to be able to say, hey, we built a classroom for 20 kids. I love that. I think that's great. So, hey, Christina, thanks for spending some time with us today and
Yeah,
sharing your not just your dream, but your heart for these kids. I love it.
I'm so grateful to be partnering with you guys for this project and just really excited because I think food is essential, like to
Yeah.
survive. But I also believe that education is something that can stop the cycle of poverty. And so, just 2 really practical but really impactful ways to get involved in these kids' lives. And so, super excited and just really grateful to be partnering with you guys.